This is episode 5 of the Launch Over podcast on the Without Your Head network. This is a very special episode. Rather than doing our normal format, we're going to do a rebroadcast of a Without Your Head interview with the cast and crew of our film Blood of the Tribades. So we want to thank Neal Jones of Without Your Head for hosting the interview, and we'll be back next week with a wrap-up of Fantasia and much, much more.
Well, apparently we're live here at the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I'm Nasty Neal, and we're joined by all the fine people here, Blood of the Tribades, which we all just watched. Why doesn't everyone introduce themselves and tell them either who you were in the movie or what you did on the movie, if you don't mind?
I'll go first. Hello, I'm Mary Widow. I played Fantine.
How about Seth? We'll start the go around
Okay, sorry, I don't know.
That's all right.
I'm Seth Chatfield. I played Grando.
Rachel.
Hey, I'm Rachel. I was Akeldama, and I also did some behind-the-scenes stuff like photos and script supervising the French bits.
Hugh.
Hi, I'm Hugh Guiney. I played Stoker.
Good. Desra.
Hi, I'm Desiree Lynn. I played Astron, and I guess I was the feet guy.
The feet guy, all right. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that. Catherine.
I did the music, the score, so that was my part. I was in a lot of scenes, I guess, subconsciously. So
You're also a double in some of the scenes.
that's right. It was a double on that cold day with Rachel and Sophia at Wingersteig. Yeah.
But Chris.
Okay, so I'm Chris. I was Safa.
Chloe.
Hi, I'm Chloe, and I was Elizabeth.
Michael.
I am Michael.
Feet double.
Feet double. Mostly I was a double.
You're going to get the most important part out of the way first.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the important things I did. No, Sophia and I wrote and directed and shot and did all the other tech stuff. So, and feet double, most importantly.
I'm Sophia. I played Bathsheba. I was the first person to die in the movie, which is fun. And yeah, just did everything else.
Very good. All right. I've got to share it on Facebook, so hopefully everyone is in here. But cool. It was very cool to watch with everybody.
Mm.
Yeah, thanks. Great.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
So this was the last film that you guys did in Boston?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that we went out with a big bang, you know?
Definitely.
And it's, it's very difficult to shoot a movie with like 50 cast members in it as like a low budget indie production, but like everybody in Boston just kind of came together for it and made it happen. And it's like eternally grateful for that.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was watching it, I was thinking, wow, this is really, because I've seen it before, but I had never been on a movie set or anything. But since then, I've been in a couple things with Michael and Sophia, and this is a lot bigger cast. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of people in this movie, a lot of locations, or at least seemingly a lot of locations.
Yeah. We had just gotten like a minivan, and we would just throw like 7 people in the minivan and drive off to random locations.
Most of the people here had been in the minivan at some point. So.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that was a big part of the production. And then the big cast scenes were done over one weekend where we had sent out like so many casting emails like with dates, and like those were the dates everybody could do. So we just did it all in 2 days, which was kind of insane because it was a fight scene. It was all the group scenes of the men, all the group scenes of the women. Was like one terrifyingly long weekend.
Right. I want to ask everyone about that, like getting involved in the movie, because it's a very specific genre of a film. So, it's something Michael and Sophia both like, but I don't know if it's something, a lot of people are familiar with, and what you thought when you got involved. We'll start with Seth.
Well, I mean, I was familiar with Hammer a little bit, and really, I love like the sort of scenery chewing. I'm sure it doesn't show, but like I love that whole element. And Mike told me to specifically watch Twins of Evil, which I did, one might say, religiously, and so that helped. I was aware that the lesbian vampire genre, 70s films existed, but I hadn't really seen them, and it was kind of amazing. It's like, wow, this is a very niche thing, but obviously it's appealed to a lot of people. So.
Yeah. Anyone else having about that? Being casted, Rachel?
Yeah, I wasn't really familiar with the genre ahead of time. I just always have a policy to say yes when Mike and Sophia are doing a new project, and that's maybe a dangerous policy. Not really sure what I got myself into, but yeah, it ended up being great, and now I want to explore the genre more. I mean, I guess I've had a few years since we shot and I still haven't, but
there's still time. Right. Now watching it again, it's reminded you.
Yeah, I was familiar with the genre, and actually that's kind of how I got involved, because originally it was going to be a short, and Mike and Sophia had posted something on Facebook. I don't remember exactly what it is that you guys posted, but it was something like, does anyone know, it was something like, does anyone know any French actors, or something like that, because you were hoping to get some people to speak French for it, and I was kind of like, oh, well, I haven't acted since like high school, but I like acting. I definitely would do it, and I like Jean Rollin. And then, long story short, it turned from a short into a feature, and they were like, hey, there's going to be some nudity, and I was like, I'm not running for president, and there you go. So yeah.
Before we get everyone else, I was interested about it from going from a short to a feature. What was the decision there? When did you decide, like, hey, I think we have something more than a short here?
Yeah, well, we were originally going to make it for an anthology film about like grindsploitation, like lost films and trailers. Sorry, our AC just kicked on. We're going to turn that off. But so then once we started budgeting it, and like I love these movies, so I love Hammer 70s. Like when people think it's Jump the Shark, that's like when I'm there for it. So like the Hammer 70s, like all the Dracula movies, the Vampire Lovers, and we love Jean Rollin. So it was already a thing that we were like interested in. And then when we're going to do the short, we're like, let's do this. And then as we started like casting and budgeting for the short, it was going to be so expensive to do just like a 2-day short that I was like, fuck it, let's just make the feature, because like, why not? It's going to be like, instead of 3 days, it's going to be like 10 days, and let's just make it happen. And so we ran a Kickstarter and got everybody together.
It was also going to be part of an anthology called Grindsploitation 2, The Lost Reels. And the premise of the anthology was that it was like a scene from a movie that had been lost. So it was like it was not intended to be a complete short. It was intended to be something extracted from a larger piece. And so we wrote the end scene, the attic confrontation, where the 3 guys show up, and they've just had I think it was with the ritual, and then the guys show up, and then there's the big French confrontation. So in order to write that scene, we kind of had to like outline what the hell the thing was that led to that. Wasn't, because it doesn't make sense. It's sort of hard to write that scene without some idea of the broader world, even if it wasn't going to be in the movie. So it was kind of easy to think about, like, once we got into it, it was kind of easy to say, well, let's just expand from there. Since we had written the kind of climactic moment, we'll just, build out the rest of it from there.
Yeah. Desra, how about yourself? Was this anything you're familiar with before you got involved?
Not really. So I'm actually, I have a joke with my friends. When it comes to horror, I'm kind of broken because it just doesn't like work on me. Like
we're gonna get rid of you. No,
I know. I'm sorry. But it was really cool. Like I think I was pretty much cast just for what I could do. But it was really eye-opening. Like it kind of has opened my eyes to this whole area, because I wasn't familiar with the Hammer horror or Jean Rollin, and now I'm really interested in really kind of exploring that whole part. So it kind of opened my eyes.
And since you mentioned it, for people that weren't in the chat earlier, what can you do? They get you involved in the movie.
I can answer an email. No,
very good.
I can walk on broken glass. I am I guess currently retired professional magician and a sideshow performer, and walking on broken glass was a regular part of my act.
What? Was that in the script before that, or like was that something once you read that, like, oh well that's something we can add?
We knew Desra, and I had actually like sledgehammered a concrete block on you and did it really badly, so it was super painful. But anyway, we knew Desra.
Wow, you are hard on the actors.
I know, I'm bad. when we were doing casting, a part of our casting form was like, will you do nudity? Do you have any special skills? Like, it had all these extra questions. And so when Desert responded, he was like, well, I do like the sledgehammer thing, I do glass walking.
You'd already seen it.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Live.
Yeah, we saw you do it in a bar once. You know, you just like dump the glass out and like breaking it. I have like a foot thing, like where it's just like it freaks me out, like stuff stuck in feet. Like so, it was horrible for me, but I love it in the film, and I finally can watch it. Like it took like 100 times of seeing the movie before I could watch that scene. So yeah, so once we had that skill, we're like, oh, that's a really cool way to die, and so we did write it after he was cast.
Because we had the outline with the guys. You know, they needed to be tortured and killed in different ways, and I think we were kind of one short, honestly. Anyway, we were like, what do we do? You know, we wanted the one whipping. You know, we had some ideas of things, but I think we were looking for another one. And once Desiree had responded to that call, we're like, perfect. This is, it's just write that right into the script. So it's in the movie because he could do it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And just to clear it up, I mean, at least the scenes with me, it is real feet and it is real glass, and don't try it at home.
Catherine, I know you knew them beforehand, but like this specifically, is this for the music wise? Is this a genre of film you're familiar with?
Well, yeah, yes, because a lot of my I go through phases with my film, and like the Dracula vampire stuff I was into a while ago. So going back to this, it was like I was like, oh, let me relive some of my youth. And secondly, also just the the music for, especially this film, is like the music is pretty upfront and forward. So it got me to, first of all, use my nylon string guitar, which I just purchased. And I think Michael was like, oh, you got that? Why don't you bring it over? And we can like start working with it. So, so I think, I always think that the music in a lot of these films, especially the Euro vampire films, is pretty intense. And it's beautiful when you just listen to it on your own, even if you don't see the movie. I think the score can tell a story by listening to it. You get a sense of what it is. So, yeah, that's part of
Yeah.
And
I met you at Buff, and I didn't know you were in the movie at the time. But had you known Michael and Sophia before this?
Well, yeah, funnily enough, I met them also through Buff, which for those who don't know is the Boston Underground Film Festival. Here in Boston, obviously, it's in the name, but one of our favorite fests. And
it would be weird if it was in Detroit or something.
Yeah, and I just sort of, met them through that, and then they had this project going on, and I had wanted to work with them, for a while. I think I might have sent a cold email at 3 a.m. one night saying, please put me in something. And I don't know if that's what did it. No, but yeah. And I mean, I was not too familiar with the genre. I haven't seen any of these 70s vampire films at all. I think the most for me had been like Buffy and Angel. That's the most vampire exposure I've had in media. So I just, I went in cold, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Was Buffy suggested viewing for the cast? No.
Definitely not.
There's that post The Hunger that was in viewing for the cast, and that's like 1980. That's the cutoff.
Chris, how about yourself? How did you get involved? Is there something you knew about it all?
So I'd known Michael and Sophia. I used to work for local Alt Weekly, covering local film events, and got to know people that way. The genre itself, for the recommended viewing and directors, I knew some more than others, and I was more familiar with it as I hadn't taken a deep dive. And by being in the movie, I feel like I have taken a deep dive. I feel like I've absorbed a lot about the genre just by being around the two of them. If I ever, turn it into like a week-long project, watch Roll On, watch more Hammer, watch all these things, I feel like I'll go in with a more informed perspective just by being a part of this movie.
Mary.
Sorry, I muted myself.
So I just heard a giant bang upstairs, so hope everything's okay. But yeah.
So there was one night, I think in probably mid 2014, and I was scrolling Facebook late at night, and Mike and Sophia had put out a post because they were going to make the short. And they said, looking for actors who are familiar with, Hammer horror and all of that. And I love horror. I've always loved horror. I especially love retro horror. Very into sort of the 60s and 70s aesthetic just across the board. And I had a few years earlier done a photo shoot that was all sort of 60s Playboy themed. And I think I just messaged Mike and Sophia, who I'd been friends with for many years in Boston through like film and music. But I just sent them this message being like, hello, me, please consider me. And I was like, this is my jam. And so they were like, totally great, let's do this. And it was really exciting to see it develop from a short to a feature. But I'll save the rest of that for another question.
Well, there's so many cool things in the movie, like location-wise. Were these things, any of these places, like you had in mind beforehand that you just you knew of, and like, hey, if we ever do something, this would be cool?
I think it was all researched at the time, because basically we were going for this medieval by the way of 1970s like aesthetic. And, all those, like the Hammer movies, they just had a lot with some castles on it that they shot everything at, or sets. And so we were trying to recreate that. So basically we would just put up posts and be like, what do you guys know about? And that's how we found a lot of they're mostly state parks, where we shot, that just happened to have stone structures in New England. And then there was some private property that we got access to that was really awesome. It was just a lot of digging, and mostly we were shooting on weekends. So we started shooting in July, and I think we were done by October. And so every week leading up to that next shoot, I was scrambling, trying to find locations. So it definitely was a months-long process.
Yeah. Does anyone have a story about any locations? Was there any of them difficult or anything like that, or memorable?
We snuck into a graveyard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The really beautiful graveyard that Chloe and I have that really nice scene in is an actual location, and it is on a residential road at a dead end of a residential road. And we all piled into the minivan, and I think we parked at a supermarket that was a block and a half away.
Right.
And then we shuffled back into the car and then parked on the street hoping nobody would see us, and we sneaked into this graveyard and trying not to have anybody call the cops on us, and we shot everything as fast as we could.
Yeah, really quickly. And
the moon was full and it was out, and the moon was really beautiful. It was awesome. It was great.
It was very cool. I remember feeling a little nervous because I was like, oh gosh, golly, I don't know if we can do this, Scoop, but it was also really cool. So I was like, all right, let's do it. And I think, we shot so quickly that I had to ADR a couple of those lines afterwards. I think, I don't know, did you ADR some of those too, Mary? I don't remember.
I think we did, because there were so many crickets that night. I don't think it was anything to do with the shooting or you all. It was just that there was so much cricket noise that it just kind of sounded bad. And
another Boston filmmaker, Warren Lynch, told us about that location, and he's like, I've shot there lots of times, it's fine. But then we got there and dogs are barking, and we had to go down this private street, and it's part of a real cemetery. That area is not really used anymore. I think it's full. But so we're definitely gonna get arrested, but he said it would be fine. And he was right, it was fine. But we were in and out in a half an hour. It was really fast. I know Chris and Zach just had the lights, and it'd be all right, throw up the lights, shoot for a minute, drop them, hide, and change angles, throw up the lights. It was hectic, but it was cool.
Yeah, watching that scene tonight, I think that's the first time I've watched in a while. It brought back a sense memory of what it felt like to be shooting those moments. It was I remember walking down that street, everybody's quiet. Okay, nobody make a sound on the street. Hold up the lights. This is where it was a real operation.
Meanwhile, Chloe and I are in flowing gowns and capes, and we're like, don't notice us, please.
So conspicuous.
One of the funny things about locations too is that there are a lot of scenes that are shot in 4 locations that are just when you're looking one direction, it's one location. When you're looking another, and I think it kind of all pretty much seamlessly. Yeah, I don't think you feel that too much, at least in watching. I mean, I don't know. You can all say that.
I actually was paying attention to that this time watching it, because I've seen it a bunch of times, and And I've watched like your documentary and stuff about how, you know, the composite shots, and like it all worked for me. Even looking for that specifically.
I think I mentioned this in the chat earlier, but my favorite moment of movie magic is when we're going up to the attic, and we're going up the stairs, and like a good part of that shot is just us like going around like a stone column that's literally just us going like, all right. You know, just like, you know, goofy, like pantomiming going upstairs.
Like when you pretend to go down the escalator.
Yes. It looks great though.
From my son in the chat, going, sorry.
You were both very convincing walking up fake stairs, though. So
I thought that was very well done.
Great acting.
Good act. Yeah.
One thing that I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's fine.
So the opening, you know, the composite there where I'm looking in the window and shoot Bastard in the bath. What's funny there for me is that Sophia was directing me in that shot, and she was like, "Okay, be grosser." She'd be cracking up.
Here.
Then you see the final shot, and it's just like it always makes me laugh to know that she's like, "Lick your lips." Ew. Yeah.
Well, we shot that me in the bath like much later. And that's at my parents' house. They just have that tub, and so it was like after. So I knew like what I was dying to, but you didn't know what you were looking.
No, I was looking just to the side of Sophia, being as gross as I could.
I saw in the chat Hugh had some run-ins with wasps or something at some point.
Oh boy, I don't even know where to begin with that. Yeah, so we were shooting my dismemberment scene, and part of like the second half of that is taking this prosthetic penis and throwing it off screen, basically, and then shooting a crossbow and nailing it to a tree. So the first take that we tried that, I forget who it was, but somebody threw the penis into the woods. And this is just in somebody's backyard somewhere in Massachusetts. And we just threw it because that was behind my character, like in where that shot was set up. We just threw it into the woods. Not only did the camera not pick it up at all, so the scene was no good, we also lost it. So we cut and we ventured into these woods. We were looking under like rocks and, in the dirt. And I must have stepped on, I stepped on a hornet's nest. And that sent just a swarm of angry hornets out. I mean, like you would see in a cartoon. And then they immediately went up everyone's shirts, and we ran out screaming towards the person's house where a bunch of the crew and cast was sitting. And they didn't bat an eyelash because it's a horror film, everyone screams. So, and I was just trying to get all of them off of me. I went into the bathroom and took my shirt off. I'm looking for hornets. I don't know that we had identified the insect at that point in time. We just knew that they stung. But we later somehow arrived at them being hornets. I think Michael has some insect knowledge. And he's like, no, they're definitely hornets.
They're yellow jackets. They were yellow jackets. So
they were yellow jackets. That's right.
Yeah. From my perspective, I was standing nearby. Like we had just kind of, as Hugh said, we had just cut. He went to look for it. I hear him scream from inside the woods, and I think like, oh shit, he like broke his ankle or like fell. Something happened. So I start running toward him to help him, and I see him start coming out, like rushing out of the woods. And it is literally like a cartoon. You see a swarm of insects over somebody. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It was just like he was covered, like Nicolas Cage, Wicker Man, covered in yellow jackets, running toward me. I stopped for a moment, realized there was nothing I could do to help him, and ran the fuck the other way.
We had to send Zach home too because he got stung
Zach
like
got
30
stung,
times.
yeah.
I got stung like 5 times. I was just like running around their house in like, you know, a residential neighborhood, like taking off clothes, like because they like are they get into you and then they sting like crazy. It's terrible. But that's like a good lesson for indie filmmaking is to always get 2 of your hero prop. This was like $30. I was like, I only need 1. It's fine, and it wasn't fine. We needed 2, and we had to get 1 later.
We didn't expect to lose it on the first throw.
I don't know why we thought we would ever catch it on the camera, like being like flung fast, like anyway, like why that was like how it was planned. But you know, you live and learn.
If someone could go out and try to find it now.
No, we kept joking about that.
You never got it back. Like no one ever found it. Yeah.
They have a bunch of dogs at the house that they were kind enough to let us shoot at. I'm like, someday your dog. We told them like we're like someday your dog is gonna come like running back in with a fake penis in his mouth. Yeah. Don't be alarmed by that. You know.
I just hope the Winchester police get that penis into evidence someday.
Justin Long here in the chat. He wants to know where the hell is King Ghidorah?
He's asleep on the. I think it was Jeremy, probably. Jeremy.
Oh, Jeremy Long. I'm sorry. Yeah.
He's at my feet. He snored through the movie, and now he's at my feet.
And we don't want to wake him up. So.
And to clarify, this is Mike and Sophia's dog, not the kaiju.
I mean, both. Yeah. We are very basic, I guess, and we got a quarantine dog, knowing nothing about dogs at all, and it's been a real experience. Yeah. We love him. He rules over us.
Seth, how many takes did it take to do the opening monologue of the movie?
Oh wow, 1 actually. Believe it or not, it was the last shot at the end of a long day, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
And
Sophia and I had a fight about whether we should actually do it. Let's clarify that.
I can't remember if I was for or
No,
against.
you were against it.
You were super against it.
You were definitely against it.
I don't give it because we had to be out there overtime, and I was.
That's why, because I was the producer,
like, I don't.
And I was like, they're gonna be mad at us if we're like overtime.
You were technically right, I'm pretty sure, but yeah, but
I was like, let's just try it. It's gonna be shit. Seth will never nail it quickly, and 1 take, boom, in the movie.
Yep.
And all of us that were there, because it was that massive filming day, and so there was still a big chunk of us left in the room. Yeah. And so we were all totally exhausted. And then we knew, okay, they're going to shoot Seth's thing. So we all just kind of like sat with our backs against the wall perfectly. Nobody breathed. Like we just kind of were like, just get through this. And he nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it like crazy. And I think we all just like exploded after it. And we were like, well, that's it. So anytime I see the movie now, that monologue, I'm like, yes!
Oh, thank you. So yeah, everybody was wonderful. I think that I've never been applauded by my fellow cast members for anything I've ever done before. Maybe they were applauding the end of the day because it was a long day, which I can understand also. But that was a pretty great. I didn't think I would nail it either, honestly. Just sometimes it, brain work good, and it all works out.
Yeah. Well, that's how good it was that it made the whole room be like, it was a really long day. Everyone was exhausted. It was part of that marathon weekend. And I remember leaving feeling like I just witnessed something, we were all thinking about how tired we were. And then we thought about like, geez, that was real, man.
Wow. I love you all so much.
Chloe mentioned in the chat room, and it was a scene near the beginning when they had the meeting with all the women, that she loves the small talk in the scene. And I was wondering, for a scene like that, is that all written out, and is that hard to play actually, where you have to seem, just feel like you're just talking, as opposed to one person talks.
Well, it's funny because me and Mary don't really small talk. We're like the only ones who don't small talk in that scene because we were so like sad. We're like, oh, we're sad lovers. But I do remember everybody else doing it, and I can't remember. I think some people ad-libbed some things.
Melinda did, and I got mad. She said, we were rolling, and everybody's doing their little things, and some of those little ad-libs were scripted, and then Melinda just turns to somebody and goes, you love Bathor. You suck Bathor's dick. And I was like,
I remember that.
It's in the movie very quietly. It's actually in the movie, but super quiet. It's like not really noticeable, but we did put it in.
We all know it's there.
if you're really careful.
I forgot
Hard
that.
to forget.
Yeah.
Hard to forget.
But yeah, I think it was. There was a lot of scripted stuff. We didn't know exactly like how many people or what we'd end up with. So some of them definitely we kind of like either they came up with stuff or we gave them stuff to do. But we wanted something to like feature each person in that scene to kind of establish the space. So
Rachel small talks in that scene.
Yeah, I think I had one line in that scene. I didn't ad-lib it. I remember it was definitely scripted. But I feel like you guys always give me a line that includes an eye roll because it was like that in 10 also.
You mentioned, while you're in 10 and that you always do anything that Michael and Sophia are involved in. So how did you meet them initially?
So we met through music. We all played in a band together for years. And yeah, then like through the band, there started to be kind of film projects here and there, the 24-hour film fest a bunch of times. And I forget when 10 fit into the timeline. It started with a trailer competition, right? It was the trailer first, so I participated in that. And then there was the Kickstarter and the full project. And yeah, every time they worked on something, I would volunteer or they would draft me into it or whatever, and they usually kill me. So maybe I should stop saying yes to things. But now that we live on other sides of the country, I've been safe for a few years.
Catherine, are you ever on set when you're doing the score?
Hold on. Well, I'm on set sometimes, yes, but not when I'm scoring. No. Usually, after everything is said and done, I'm the one who gets the first put together and nobody else has seen it, and they're always like, don't show this to anybody and no judgment on what's going on. I'm like, I'm not judging, I just need to see it. So I'm usually the one who gets to see everything before anybody else does, and I see, and so it's kind of, for me, it's really interesting because I see, first of all, I thought especially this movie looked fantastic from the get-go. Like when they first gave me their first roughs, I was like, wow, this looks really awesome, really great. And then, as things started to be, get put together, I know that Mike was like, all right, why don't we come over? We would have these marathon scoring sessions. And so it was kind of cool to see like how things progress, but also I know I wasn't on set, but except for the beach scene that I had to be on, but I didn't know. I was just like, it was cold. And I knew we were going in order of height. So I don't know if Rachel was middle or you were middle, right? It was like Sophia, we know Sophia was the first one.
I'm definitely shorter than you. I'm only 5.
Okay, so that was me being not the shortest one ever. So it was so that was kind of fun. And for 10, I was on set. So that was we were all in lockdown filming that. So
when the filmmakers themselves have a musical background, is that easier to score the film, or how is it different? Because I assume if someone doesn't have any musical knowledge, like it's kind of up to you.
No, I personally think it's easier because then I don't have to. I think some of the issues that I have with some people that I've worked with, and not a lot, but it's like when people already have an idea when they give you a temp score. And then it's like, they're like, we want this, but we're not sure. And it's like, okay, then you're kind of tap dancing to be like, okay, how about this? How about this? How about this? And you wind up doing something that's completely opposite of what they gave you. With working with Mike and Sophia, I don't have to do that because we can communicate in a different way. And usually it's like, Mike and I will sit down and Sophia will be like, or it'll be like, we'll like work our asses off, and it'll be like, let's see if Sophia likes it, and she'll be like, I think you need to have a little space here. And, it works. So it's like, it's a different kind of communication. It's a little bit, I think it's a lot easier. And what I love about working with them is that I could, if I'm sitting down to do something, sometimes we don't have to communicate because I think we've worked so much. And I think there's some things that'll be like, if I do something, Mike might be like, try this, do this, blah, blah, blah. Or he'll just, he'll take what I've done and then he'll answer back or like create something that's better and bigger than what maybe we would have done on our own. So I think it's an easier place to work from.
Desiree, what did you think about Michael's doubling your feet?
I thought it was great. I mean, I don't know. I know there was things that they wanted to get in that shot that I know technically would have been very difficult to do fake blood with the real glass. It's if you ever work with fake bows, it's sticky. It's really sticky, and actually that would be put me in a very dangerous situation. So that kind of thing was necessary. It is kind of funny though when they picked me up and dropped me on the glass. I think I remember offering, I can do that for real. That's okay. And then they were like, no, please don't. Oh God. So, yeah, so I had no problems with that. It is kind of funny, like just even during the comments while watching it. Yeah, my feet, not my feet. My feet, not my feet.
A lot of times on set, I mean, this is a big thing when you need to do like insert stuff or effect stuff. A lot of times, like, you just don't do it on set because those days we had 40 people there, 30 people there. So rather than spend another hour trying to get that shot of the glass, the final blood thing, we're like, oh yeah, we can just grab this later. Like, we can deal with this later. So that's the kind of stuff that you just, from a producing perspective, you push to another time.
Yeah.
Whose baby was in the movie?
That's Edry and Walter Sickert's baby, Wednesday, who's like 5 or 6 now. She's like an adult, but she's really awesome. And like, I just love that like she's time capsuled in that movie. It's so cute.
Yeah.
And she did a great job. And Edry is such a good
Very
sport.
cute.
Can I pour blood on this? And of course she said yes, because it's Edry. They're in an awesome band called Walter Sickert and the Army of Broken Toys that Mary's also involved in.
Yay!
So check them out. But yeah,
Yes,
they're
please.
super awesome.
Yeah. How about getting the wardrobe for the movie? Because everything looks great in the movie. And where did you get the red shirts?
The wardrobe took me months because I had such a specific thing in mind of like the Hammer, mostly in some genre on stuff. So it was like all vintage 70s doing kind of medievally flowy dresses. So it was all pretty much all vintage. That I just sourced from everywhere. And then like I found at Garment District, they had just a rack of blue suits. And I was like, fuck it, I'm buying all these suits. And it was like 12 suits and they were like $10 each. It was so cheap. And then I was like, they need red shirts. And then the red shirts, like I could only find them online in one place and they were like $50. And it was like obnoxious because at Keezer's, the same shirt was $10, but not red. That made me really mad. And eventually, like right before we started shooting, I just broke down and hit buy. And it was like $500 worth of red shirts. It was ridiculous. But that's the kind of stuff that drives me crazy when I'm producing and also doing that. I always remember exactly how much everything was. It's terrible.
we definitely only had like one small jacket or something.
Yeah, but like the jackets kept rotating.
Whoever was like in close up, who like, because some of the people needed a smaller size than others. And so if you were like featured or in close up and you wore a small size, like the jacket got, shifted to
I think I ended up with a couple like shittier blue jackets that we would try to hide in the back because they're like skinny guys for like the nicer jackets I had. It was like ridiculous.
Yeah. Does anyone keep their wardrobes?
My dress was mine.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about that. And I saw it. That same dress is in the
Love Witch. I know. And it's a vintage gunny sacks, like from the real, period of time. And, when I watched The Love Witch, there's the apothecary. And in one scene, she's wearing my actual dress. And our movies came out around the same time. And I was like, why? What is this dress doing?
Working hard that year.
It is a very busy dress.
I still have Grando's jacket. I still had my teeth from the film until I actually lost them. Like I must have been last Halloween or something. But I still have the jacket. And I think the white shirt that went under it somewhere. So yeah, gotta keep your souvenirs if possible.
I also have my dress and I have my teeth as well. I think probably most of us have our teeth. I will say one thing about the dress. It is tight. I was like, oh man, I wore it for Halloween one year because I didn't have a costume, and I was like, well, I'll just play my character and pop in those vampire teeth, and I forgot like how tight it was. There were a couple moments where I was like, oh my god, I don't know, vintage dresses are just smaller in general. I don't know, but it was difficult sometimes, but it looked great. Anyway.
You were about to say something, Hugh?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say at the end of shooting, I had like the red shirt, and Sophia's like, "You hold on to it for now, but we're gonna need that back." Probably because it was such a big purchase, and I just never gave it back, and I felt bad about it for a while. I have to say. So if you need me to Venmo you $50 plus interest, like I can do that.
I was saying in the chat, like when we moved away from Boston, I just ended up giving everything away pretty much. So you're good.
Thank you.
I've done some table hopping gigs, magic gigs wearing the jacket, actually.
Oh, really?
And it worked out very nicely. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. How about the arrow cam? I know I mentioned this in the chat, but it was very
People
cool to
on
see.
Amazon hate those shitty arrows.
Well, we use, okay, so in general,
People are like, they look very shitty.
it's a safety, it's a, no, I think there was like one review.
All right.
But, you know, when you're doing a movie like this, like we don't have like a stunt coordinator or like an armor.
We did have a stunt coordinator.
We
Just
did,
in case he watches this and he's mad. He did the fight scene.
We had a fight choreographer and a coordinator for that. Yeah.
Just for that scene.
Yeah.
Everything else.
But like we don't have an armor who's going to deal with like the weapons and projectile stuff. So we have to be really like careful. So we basically use like toy crossbows that like if you got shot in the eye, it might be bad, but otherwise, like you could probably just be shot in the body and be fine. So anyway, those are the arrows have like rubber tips. There's nothing serious. But the arrow cam, I don't know. We're big fans of like the POV cam stuff, and so we thought it'd be cool to like do a few POV shots. And so we worked up a thing where we bought a. You said it was a screwdriver, like a screwdriver or drill, like an electric drill, and you know that opens up. You can change the bit, and so we just put the arrow into that. And attached it, I think maybe just taped it to the camera, or just held it. Maybe I just held it and kind of ran with it with the the drill bit spinning, so the arrow spins as we're kind of running toward the. I think I shot all that, so I just ran full speed, and I only stabbed somebody once with it. I think.
I think, Chris, you had to shoot the arrow at the camera, and you were super nervous about it. And we're like, we have plexiglass up, and we're like, whatever.
Well, I was really nervous about it, and then you were like, really, whatever, like big, whatever, who cares, shoot it, I'm right here, I don't care. Like, so, but then you were behind glass too. I just, like, I wanted to get it right. I wanted to look like I was a guy who was planning on shooting vampires and not like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Like, okay, I'm hitting my marks. Like, how to but then also not hit you. So yeah, that was it brings me back. It was a lot of fun, and there's a lot of cheering when that shot happened too. That was I think like it was just such a like, oh, I know this moment in the action movie kind of moment when everybody's on the sidelines. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, you could not hurt somebody with the kind of distance that we were using it with. I was just trying to remember though, like we were shooting it into the water, and that was that a lot of, I don't remember, did we have water people retrieve them? I was trying to remember how we
Water people. Like me?
our scuba team. No, I think so Aurora and Melinda are in that scene, and they're in the water, and they get shot. So I think because they were already wet, they just went and got the arrows back. And we're like, we had extras, so if we lost some, it was okay.
And it was just wood, so like it wouldn't really ruin the environment, probably, if we got lost at all.
But it's genre appropriate to have, like, what are those things they're using? Like you watch one of those old movies and it's like, oh, I know what they did, but it's kind of fun. It's one of those the 70s Euro vibe to it. I like watching that, being like they scrapped all this stuff together, and they're I admire them more for it.
Mm-hmm. Chris mentioned being directed to play a grocer. Hugh, what was it like to play a sleazy your sleazy character?
A great gig. It was a lot of fun. I have to say, it was a lot of fun. I felt like the fact that my guy's a creeper gave me license to sort of like just be weird and sort of like try and as much as you possibly can get into the psychology of a horny vampire. So yeah, and I just tried to kind of, my character doesn't say much, so I just tried to bring like physicality to it, just to sort of like just put my own spin on it. Mm-hmm.
Before I met Seth, I actually did imagine that you were like Rondo. Like that's who I expected you to be like.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Well, I'm glad to disappoint. Hopefully,
Right. I guess I knew when I saw you in the documentary with the cool scarf. I was like, oh, he's not like this guy. But I did assume that you were very much like this person.
Wow. Wow. I don't know.
Maybe not to that level, but you know, in that world.
Well, I grew up going to an evangelical church. That's really great research if you want to be a zealot. So I think that helped maybe to bring some realism to it. But yeah, I try very much not to be like, apart from still and to this day very obnoxiously abusing the rose emoji. Otherwise, I try not to be too evocative of Grando in my everyday life.
Yeah. Which is a running theme with your characters in the Michael and Sophia movies. The rose.
You know, it's great to sort of be gifted a brand, I guess, in that way.
In the chat room, Chloe brought up it was a fun fact about the silhouette moment that you and Mary were goofing a little bit, and that it ended up looking nice, and you guys used it in the movie.
Yeah. It was literally, we were, it was between takes, and I don't even remember what we were like, just having a fun time, like laughing about something. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. And then, Michael and Sophia yelled action, and we're like, okay, yes. Serious face is the part where we connect our heads together. and
then they were like, wait, have Chris and Zach do it next.
Yes, which was also very fun. But yeah, if you look at that scene again, that first part, we're not technically in character because it was just us goofing off.
That's awesome.
There's a moment where we're like, okay, character. But it looks
scene.
Yeah, it looked good. So they kept it.
Yeah. I assume the thinking was they were having a good time naturally together. So it's easy.
Well, that day too, the weather was really kind of weird and stormy, and my hair totally frizzed up and curled and ruined my 70s look. But the sunset, because the weather had been so gross, and then it cleared, like the sunset over the water on the location that we were on at that time. It was just perfect. So I'm so glad that we were goofing around and then that shot exists because it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I think Chloe mentioned also, but we were at that location filming, and there was a guy. Was the guy? I don't know. He was there doing construction or something, or maybe he's a friend. It doesn't matter. But it was a random guy there. And whenever you're making a movie, whenever there's like random people around, you just don't want anything to do with them. It's just the standard thing. They're always going to annoy you. They're always gonna be like, what are you doing? What's going on? So like you just try to get rid of people like as fast as you can when they start like kind of interjecting. And so this guy's like, oh, there's a great sunset. You should go check it out. And I think we were on the other side of the house or whatever. And so we're like, yeah, whatever. Sure, dude. Yeah, fine. And then I think we turned around and we were like, oh, wow, it's really awesome. Let's go film that. Yeah.
I'll divulge a little thing, which is that that location was like a member of my family. It was my uncle has this really gorgeous, ridiculous place. And there are a lot of random people at his house, so I don't even know who that was. I don't know. I go there for Christmas and the holidays and stuff usually. There's just always someone that I'm like, I don't know. This guy's an Australian sea captain. Why is he here? I'm not sure. But so yeah, that's just a fun. Who is that guy? I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
He had like a heavy Rhode Island accent, and that made me even more like, whatever, bro. He helped us out.
And to be fair, he didn't actually like interfere with any of our shooting at all. So.
Like, hey, you guys have cameras. Go look at that.
Thanks, random guy.
Yeah.
We do have an update on the baby, actually. Jane says she believes she's 5 now.
She is 5. And she's awesome. She's a super cool little human.
Desiree, since you said you weren't like a horror guy, what does your family and friends think of the movie? Have they seen it?
Well, actually kind of echoing what Seth said, I actually come from a pretty tight religious background too. So most of my family, I I am no longer religious, I guess, and I'm very open about the fact that I was involved in this film, but they will not be watching it anytime soon. I do bring it up in conversations. Like, yeah, I was in this weird, I was in this little movie, and I was there for 2 minutes, and I flubbed my lines, but you see my feet, so. Yeah, it is. I'm certainly proud of it, but I don't think, like I said, my family probably will not be watching it anytime soon.
It's something I don't think about because I watch crazy movies with my mom ever since I can remember. But then, when I think people who have more normal parents, maybe they're not into, their stuff. So how about Seth yourself? Does your family watch your movies?
Yeah, actually, fortunately, we all made it out of that sort of thing. And they actually are all very supportive and have all seen it. I think I may have traumatized my sister a little bit for life. With this one, but no, for everybody who's been really supportive and loved the film, and came to at least, I think my dad was at a couple of screenings, maybe. So I mean, yeah, they've been really great about it. I think they get it. I think they get what the idea was behind it.
Right. So because earlier tonight we tried to show it on Facebook and it didn't work. Twice, because I actually tried to upload it last night and they took it down, and then I thought, well, we could just stream it on Zoom and be fine, and that didn't work either. And I know you had some problems with having the movie out there, so that's something you could talk about. How has the nudity and just the film itself been like to get it seen places?
Yeah, I mean, we've been banned everywhere. We were banned in Japan, then we were banned on Amazon, now we're banned on Zoom and Facebook. So, it's cool. It's like just eternally disappointing to me, like how conservative we are as a species about nudity. It's just really bizarre, like, especially in America, that it's a problem at all. Because I feel like it's so artistic in this film, like, but, the minute there's something, people freak out.
Well, I think we approached this movie knowing,
we knew like it was not gonna be like released by Disney.
Yeah. Right. And honestly, like we've been surprised at how, successful is a funny word because it's not like it's a, I was saying this the other day, it's not like a blockbuster movie or anything, but it has found a bigger audience than we would have imagined initially. We thought it was like a really niche thing. And it's actually like been kind of viewed by a wider range of people than we expected. And so it's been, it was nice to have it on Amazon for a while and other places. And once we lost basically all of this kind of standard platforms with it. And that is why now it's currently available on YouTube, which I'm surprised, honestly, that they didn't ban it. But so far, it has been allowed to be on YouTube, kind of marked as like, contains mature material. But yeah, so I mean, we're happy that people get to see it, and we're willing to take the hit on the making money or whatever with it in order to keep the integrity of what we intended to do with it intact.
If I can just echo something that I said, we're throwing a plug for the documentary. Something I said during the documentary, I think what's more telling is the nudity actually allows us to have the male nudity, which is so rare, and have like a male nude, powerless, like at the whim of a torturer. That is just astonishingly rare in genre, where we have no problem with showing a naked woman being tortured in all sorts of terrible ways. But, do
you think that's been a bigger issue with the places that banned it because there's a lot of male nudity as opposed to a lot of female nudity?
Yeah, I think that's been the main thing, especially since it's not just like a glimpse. It's like full on, like 7 people are like totally everything out. So that's definitely been the sort of thing. But it was like super important for our film to like update the genre and like have the flip of that. So typical torture scene to be a vulnerable male, and like even like some of the genre long films and stuff do have male nudity in them, so like it was so true to what we were doing that like we thought about making like a censored cut or whatever, and it's just like it's not appropriate for this. Like this film is not the same film without those scenes. So
yeah, I know you when I talked about was when to show it, and I put a lot of full frontal nudity, just, so people know ahead of time. And if I wrote full frontal male nudity, I know they didn't mean anything by it and they were joking, but still they would say, like, I had people say, you had me at full frontal nudity till you said male, then I'm out. And I was like, it is weird to think about,
People were so, like, when, like, men are, like...
Yeah, they're so worried. Oh, I might be...
where they see that, they get really offended very quickly. And that was, like, a lot of our old Amazon comments were like, oh, too much dong or whatever. And it's just like, why are you such an asshole? Like, like, I'll watch whatever. You should be able to watch whatever. It's, like, humanity.
It's really important, I think. I mean, it's a homophobic issue, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the main thing. But that's actually, like, a really key thing for this movie, because contextually we're trying to make something that's in this genre that's called lesbian vampire films, and the point really is that lesbian vampire films were targeted at men. They're not for lesbians, they're not for women to watch. They're all male gaze, and they're all like because men want to see women kissing each other or whatever. So it was really important to us to like to kind of flip some of that and to confront some of that content and recontextualize it in a way that makes people uncomfortable. Like, we're psyched that people get pissed off by it. Like, when we were, making the movie, we're like, I can't wait for these Amazon reviews where people are like, oh my God, I had to look at a penis my whole life. Like, it's amazing how homophobic people are.
On the other side of that, during the stream, a Facebook friend of mine was watching, and they wrote, the penises in this movie have a combined length of 7'4" So congratulations to all the penis havers in the movie for making such a massive dong together. Good job, y'all.
I'm thinking like Human Centipede kind of movie. They were stitched together, and I don't know. Yeah.
You get a write-up for that? Can you like...
Didn't somebody say something early on? I think Sophia might have said this to me, and maybe I'm just hallucinating it, but there was something about like when men, that men like double estimated the amount of penises and half estimated the amount of female nudity. It would, on average, like people is that like a psychological concept, or was that just for this film?
Counting on Amazon?
Well, I mean, it's always true. Like if there's male nudity, it just seems like so much. So in comments, they're like, there's like 500 naked men in this movie, and there's barely any naked. And it's like, actually, the number's about even. Yeah,
it is about even. So.
Right. Just the one you just don't see as often in film.
Yeah.
So it seems a lot more.
Which is the point. That's the goal, right?
Yeah. Do you have any favorite bad reviews, actually?
That's a shirt.
Let me see.
I remember when you had the shirt.
Get on the camera.
I didn't know he was wearing it, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's a vehicle for I don't have
anti-religious and feminist dogma.
Yep. And you know what? I've never imagined someone getting the point of a movie more and giving it a score. Like, he nailed it. He nailed exactly what the movie's about, and then still gave it a 2 out of 5.
It's definitely a vehicle for anti-religious and feminist dogma.
How about the festival run? What was that experience like, and how did people take to the movie at the festivals?
Yeah, Starburst was watching the stream. Really well, actually, especially like I think like it surprised us because we're like, oh, lesbian vampire is so niche, but almost everybody's familiar with like gothic horror and Dracula, and so like even people that didn't know what we were doing like responded to the vampires and the mythology around the vampires, like. So that was like an easier in than I expected. So it did really well at the screenings. We always got great questions.
Yeah, and I think because the movie has things that are unusual, like the nudity, and even just the type of film it is, even for people who weren't used to seeing it, they may hate it, but they were like curious about it. Like, so we would get a lot of interest, at festivals because they're like, what is this about? Why are you doing this thing? Where do you get this stuff from? And we got into more festivals than I would have expected. I mean, I don't want to reveal the one, but we got information from like one of the directors of a festival. There was like a heated fight about giving awards out, that the director of the festival wanted to give us like some award for the thing, but one of the other people just like absolutely despised the movie. They were so angry about the movie they didn't want anything to do, probably because of the I think they liked the flip of it, but I think because some of the stuff made them uncomfortable, and so that creating those conversations is like again exactly the point of making this movie. Like that's what we're that's the goal of the whole thing. So I think, festivals were a great place to bring it around, and it had, many of the people here were at Buff, at least, for it. So you can talk about the experience.
Chloe mentioned the standing ovation we got when we dismembered Hugh on screen. People were standing up and clapping. That was like probably the greatest response ever in a theater for me.
Yeah, I wish, so just kind of to piggyback on what Seth and Desiree were saying, I couldn't get any of my family members to come and support me in like my big movie premiere, except one. I'm the oldest of three. I got my youngest brother, Austin, to show up with me. So shout out to Austin, because, he's like, yeah, who cares? It's and also like I'm naked for like 2 seconds, it's really like, and I feel like, my family could have maybe closed their eyes or just tolerated it. You know what I mean? Like there's a huge hang up where like my mom is like, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. And my dad's like, I can't make it. Like there was all these kind of elaborate excuses because I told them up front, it's like, I'm like, at first they're like, oh, sure. Yeah. You're in a movie. That's great. Then I'm like, yeah. And I'm naked in the movie. And they're like, oh, okay, well. And so it's this long, drawn-out process of trying to get them to show up. But Austin didn't need any convincing, so thanks to him.
Anyone else have a story from being at a festival with the movie, watching it, with people?
We were in Sanford, Maine, and there was this woman who stood up and kept saying awesome things about the film, and I was like, wow, this person really, really enjoyed it. And I kept looking at her and saying like, and I kept saying to the people I was with, like, wow, like, is this woman from the town that I live in? Like, this person is so familiar. I just can't, I know who this is. I just can't place them. Oh, well. And then I had to leave for some ridiculous reason. And I'm like, well, see you guys later. And I found out just about when I got home, that woman was Anne Bobby from Nightbreed, which is one of my favorite films that I must have watched 1,000 million times growing up. And of course she looked familiar because I looked at her face like a million times watching this film. I'll never stop kicking myself for leaving before that, because I think she then got beers with the cast and crew. So, whoops. But it was really cool to find out that happened.
Rachel, did you? Oh, sorry.
My cat was chewing on something.
I'm sorry. Rachel, did you make it to any of the festivals?
I was at Buff. I think that was probably the only one I made it to. I do remember that giant applause for Hugh's moment there. Aside from that, it's all kind of a blur. I don't think my parents were there. I think my parents stopped watching Michael and Sophia's projects after 10.
I feel like they were there, or they didn't see it. No? I feel like maybe your mom just had some comments on Facebook for us about how we're sickos. Was that?
Yeah. I'm sure she had some comments on Facebook. She loves you guys, and she looks like your dog, I think, also. But she does think you're sickos.
It's fine. It's accurate. It's fine.
Stop killing her daughter. I mean, that's all.
I've killed Rachel like at least 5 times. I've lost count. It's been at least 5 times.
Yeah, well, there were several in 10. And then in Magnetic, I mean, I guess everyone dies, technically. I don't remember.
Spoiler.
But, I remember spending a lot of time on the floor with a bloody stake in my back for this one, so that was fun.
Catherine, did you do any of the festivals?
Yes, I did. I went to Buff, which was great. It was cool to hear the response, of course. It was amazing. I also did go to Maine to see that, too, so that was really cool. And then I didn't go to Genre Blast, but I do have the score award, so...
We did win. I'm wearing my Genre Blast shirt, but we won Best Score at Genre Blast.
Yeah, so that's cool. So, yes, but it's fun to hear, like, the response when you're seeing it, and also for, to listen to what you did in a big sitting and see how it sounds. And
because people always say the big screen to see how it looks, but also a big screen you feel the music a lot more.
Oh, for me, I mean, obviously it's the look, but it's the sound and the the look together. It's cool, and especially like I said for this one, I think there was a lot of score, and there was a lot of not different influences, but it's like for the twin scene, it's like you could have like the little bit of like Angelo Badalamenti with the City of Lost Children, and maybe sneak in a little Ennio Morricone at the end for because I was obsessed with the Hateful Eight, the last film that he kind of scored. So I'm obsessed with that theme. So I kind of was like, I'm going to listen to it a little bit, and then had some of those elements, not the melodic line, but it's like I was kind of obsessed with that. So for me, it's like listening to that, and especially when Mike does his magic with the sound and everything like together, it just sounds huge. And it sounds like, oh, cool, I didn't hear that before, So yeah, I love that. So.
Mm-hmm. Also, we're really mean directors because we almost never let cast see the movie before the premiere. Because it's just like for the whole experience of seeing themselves in the big screen, like it's harder to like pick yourself apart in that situation where everybody's like really celebrating it. So I think everybody kind of pretty much saw it at Boston Underground for the first time. And I feel like that's always really special. It's like, unless they did ADR, they might have seen like a few little snippets or whatever, but it's all in your head until it's like on the big screen. I think that's the best way to see it for the first time.
That's really true. I remember sitting in the balcony at Buff, and there's a few scenes that I remember specifically, like, when Chloe and I are that really slow, dramatic, like stroll through the sort of Jean Roland feel, like, and then, close up of like fangs and whatnot. I was like, I am living a dream right now, so it's true. It is worth it to wait, even though of course I wanted to see everything beforehand, but it was, really remarkable.
A fun moment for me, this wasn't at Buff, but I think the second time I saw it, it was at Aeronaut Brewing. And during the, my big scene, like I was sitting at the bar, I was just watching this, sitting at the bar, and there was a few like women next to me, and they shrieked when they saw the bloody penis action. And it was a very like surreal moment to like turn around and be like, hey, that was me. I mean, it's and then also watching it with all of you, it's like, Mary's getting tortured, and I'm sitting at the bar, I think at Aeronaut. I'm just like, this is so surreal that we're all in this and all these crazy things are happening, and then we're also watching it all together. So I don't know, that's fun.
I do have a fun anecdote about that particular screening, which is that some friends of mine came to that Aeronaut screening, and one of the people that came, I am now dating. It's very funny because she went to the screening with somebody who was her boyfriend at the time, and every time I bring this up, I'm like, isn't it funny that like you saw me in this movie, like you saw me naked, all this stuff before we ever dated? And she's like, oh yeah, that was really cool. And I was like, and what's his face was there? And she's like, I don't remember him being there, which to me is, for some reason, that anecdote is hilarious. I don't know why she does not remember that he was there, but it is very funny to me. Anyway, that's just an aside, but so yeah, she had an advantage when we started our relationship. She already knew what was happening, and I was like, "Oh, this is new information for me." But
did you have to live up to any expectations?
Yeah, you don't have fangs. That's what I was.
A lot less blood. A lot less blood when you make out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, that's so funny. That scene. So we had like just met too, which was
Seriously.
funny.
Yes.
Like we had to do this intense scene together. And I noted in the chat, like, it looks great. It's very sensuous and romantic. But the actual experience is like you're trying to kiss someone and there's just like fake blood. Like, it's just like so unpleasant, actually. I don't know, because there's so much sugar.
Yeah, I was going to say, Michael even said it was kind of gross being there, but then when you play the music over it, like,
it sounded so gross because it kept making these like squishy sounds, and I was really grossed out.
We tried to focus on what was on the screen. Yeah. We were like, okay, the image looks nice, so and then you take away the sound and you kind of put it all together. And
it's better.
Their performances were great. It's just it's like such a strange thing to hear that sound. And I know, I mean, I didn't experience the stickiness, but I can imagine what the stuff is like, and it is gross. I've had blood, in my mouth.
Yeah, it was funny. I've never made out with somebody with fake blood in my mouth, so it was a fun experience.
I'm so proud to
Don't
be your
have for
first.
Seth, apparently. He was like, I love watching the film again, and it's been great hearing all the stories. That's from Martin, who
Cool.
I don't
From
know.
Starburst, yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
Thanks,
all right.
Martin.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for playing the film in Starburst. Sophia and I attended. We went to Manchester and had a really awesome time there. So.
I just remember we stayed in like a dorm room and like everybody like drank us under the table in like 2 seconds. I remember being
UK, you gotta watch
on my
out.
liver.
I drank quite a bit when I was in London.
Yeah,
That was in my heavy drinking days. It was pretty
it was
good.
bad.
But we got we got one of our early like really nice reviews in Starburst where
Yeah,
somebody who
Andrew.
really got the feel of the movie and got the style of the movie. And it's amazing actually. Again, you make something that's super niche and you're like 5 people are going to understand this movie at all and everybody else is going to be like, this isn't Twilight or whatever other vampire movie that they expect it to be. But like we've had some amazing reviews, especially recently over time, even years later. Last year we got a series of reviews that were like really, really nice and really, really thoughtful and really understood the context for it. And one of them was a review by somebody who they wrote the review first, and then they wrote like a 3-part, really extensive history of lesbian vampire films, and like included us in the last in like the modern section of that, and the sort of like postmodern, the reinterpretation of it. And that feels like really special for us because that was really the goal of the movie, was to take this genre that we love but is also problematic or contextually not modern, let's call it, and to do something different with it, and to then have people recognize that, and to even say things like that they really appreciated it because they love this stuff, but never really had the opportunity to see a film that's not within the context of male gaze and within the context of all that. So they were really happy to see our film, and just knowing that even a few people like get it and experience it in that context is like totally makes it worth it. Totally makes the whole thing worth it.
Something you said there about like people reviewing it now, and it came out 4 years ago, I think. Initially, keeping the movie out there, is that something? I don't think a lot of people. I think a lot of people think you get your movie out there, and initially is where you want everyone to see it. If it plays at theaters, when you at theaters, a festival, and maybe when it initially gets released on DVD or something, but. For independent film, people can watch it throughout or any film really, but people can watch it throughout the years, and just keeping it out there, like how difficult is that, especially when it's getting banned places?
Maybe the banning is helping it. I don't know. Probably not. But no, this film, for whatever reason, has stuck around more than anything else, even stuff that's come out since this film. This film seems to be the one that like people keep coming back to, which is really special because it was like an insane endeavor to take on. I like looking back on it now, just like I said, like how much cast and how many locations and like all the crazy stuff we did. It's just like such a daunting task. Like if I were to do this tomorrow, I would like not know where to start, so it's just like a really special snapshot of time, just having the right collaborators around us and making a crazy thing. So
I think in a lot of ways it was our easiest film to make because everybody was just so awesome and like just pitched in and really just, it's hard to know from watching films like what the experience is like on set. But for many of the days, we had no crew. It was just the 2 of us.
And Pearl who did all the makeup.
And so it was really like the other actors like helping, if we had actors who weren't working, a lot of times, like Chris definitely was holding lights very often or doing other things. So, everybody really pitched in just to, to make the thing possible. And I mentioned earlier, but that was one of the reasons I think Hugh asked, because we have a private group for cast and crew, just to talk about news and announce things and whatever. And when we put it on YouTube, I think it was Hugh who was like, just curious, like what's the reasoning for not trying to like put it on a paid platform or, continue, why are you putting it out for free? And the reason was that we really, because the film is reaching people and because it seems to be building an audience, it's just really important to us that it's available. Like we don't want the movie to be paywalled and hidden. And so people who like read that article on lesbian vampires and are like, oh, I can't watch this movie anywhere. It's not really available. Or I have to go on eBay and buy like a Blu-ray that's out of print. I know that, as a consumer of film, that drives me crazy trying to track down stuff. So we just are like, let's abandon worrying about making money on it or anything like that, and just make sure that it's actually like out there for people to watch. And it has, you know, over 200,000 views on YouTube, whatever that equates to in terms of viewers. So it's like people are still watching it, and I think that's way more important to us than you know, anything else. And that it probably reaches a new audience because there probably are people who are like looking on YouTube and are finding stuff. So.
And you mentioned the documentary a lot in the chat room. Where can people get the find the documentary, see the documentary?
We watched the doc again recently. So we filmed
News to Seth here. I didn't know there was one.
Never heard of it.
I just rewatched it too, like a couple weeks ago.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah,
me too. I watched it like 6 times.
I didn't watch it. I keep wanting to watch it and then forgetting, and then I'm like, oh, I should watch it.
I've never seen it.
You should absolutely watch it.
I'm a bad actor. I'm sorry.
Well, it's interesting to me because we went back to Boston about a year after the premiere. I think it was like around Christmas or something. And we got like as many people as we could to come and do these interviews for this documentary. So it was like, it had been out, they'd all seen it. And it was like, you know, it wasn't like on set interviews, like as you're making it. It was like everybody had time to think about it and to process their own experience with it. And so everybody had like really great things to say in the doc. So I'm really proud of that documentary because it's like 2 hours long and we go into like everything. We go into the politics, into the clothes, into the locations, into weird stories. And I think it's like a really nice companion piece to the movie.
I think we learned everything that we learned about filmmaking from watching like behind the scenes docs and like making up docs and listening to commentaries. And so we love that stuff. And this film just felt like, you know, we haven't done that for every movie that we've made. In fact, this is really the big, by far the biggest one that we've done. But we thought this film really merited that kind of contextualization, and everybody, you know, because it was such a big cast, you know, getting everybody back and having everybody talk on different topics was awesome. And I think I believe everybody here is in it. And you know, it was really fun. And we broke it into sections on different, you know, areas of study, I guess I would call it. Or so yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're interested in the film or interested in the filmmaking process that we use.
Okay, so it's called The Blood Is the Life, which like hilariously later, the like Bram Stoker's like Dracula movie, their behind the scenes doc on their Blu-ray is also called that.
We didn't know that at the time.
Whatever, they suck.
Yeah.
That movie's fun. Point is, it's on Amazon still.
No,
right?
it's on YouTube.
The doc is off Amazon.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. It's on Vimeo. Also,
it's on Vimeo and YouTube. If you go to bloodofthetribades.com, you can find it. If you search on YouTube for
I'll put a link with this too.
So yeah, it's easy to find. The Blood is the Life, Blood of the Tribades. You search all that, you will find it. And it was made specifically for the Blu-ray. Like we were doing a Blu-ray release with Horror Pack, which is a monthly subscription thing. They were putting it out as a limited edition. And so we're like, if we're going to do this limited edition blue, we want to include something really special on it. So we made the doc for that. And that's out of print now. And so we didn't want the doc, you know, we put all this work into it. We think it's interesting. We didn't want it to just be a thing that you have to go to eBay and like buy a copy to watch. So we kind of put it everywhere. And we're just happy to have people check it out. You know, I think it does really give a lot of insight into like why, if you want to know what the hell we were doing, it's the definitive piece on that. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we get to watch with everybody, and it worked out. I had a great time. The first time I saw it was 4 years ago. I was very sick, and I was in physical rehab after surgery. And I remember I had to sit in the corner and hide my laptop from all the nurses because I didn't want everyone seeing what I was watching. And I did rehab in a nursing home, so it was all like 9-year-old people and me. So I really appreciate it. Maybe they would.
I haven't seen.
Well, honestly, you could see some of that things of people just walking around the nursing home. But yeah, it was a great time. And Blood of the Tribades, like you said, you can watch it on YouTube. If you missed when we were watching it earlier, you're watching this right now at any time. Where can people follow everybody here? And is anyone up? I know it's a weird time to say what is everyone up to because a lot of people aren't up to anything. But Seth, where can people follow you, and are you currently into anything?
I mean, currently in a pandemic like everyone else. So not a lot going on. You can find me on Instagram at SethusMcTree. That's you know, I do Facebook too, but I'm trying to do that as little as possible these days.
I don't know why. There's really great people on Facebook.
Oh, it's a wonderful place to be. Yeah. Sorry.
Rachel.
In my day job, I'm a food writer. So if you're
nice.
interested in Boston restaurants, come find me. The website is called Eater Boston, and we have our national site Eater. And my own Instagram, which is mostly food and cats, is Blumie625. That's BLUMIE 625. So come find me if you want to eat good stuff, I guess.
I'm actually going to check that out. Chris.
So my main outlet these days is Seaville Weekly, which is the Charlottesville, Virginia weekly newspaper. I do new release reviews there every other week. I have a project on burritoandamovie.com, which is my own that's me. That's who I am. And I'm doing the Russian Guild of Film Critics top 100 Soviet and Russian films. I'm going decade by decade. So I've made it through the 40s, about to write the 50s. If that's something that appeals to you, you can find it.
It's a really amazing website. Check it out. I've read all of it, and it's great.
Wow.
And at some point, I'll have something that's not just Soviet movies, because it's talking about niche. Yeah, that's what I'm up to.
You only have 7 more decades to get through. And then... Catherine.
Okay, well, you can find me on Facebook, but I mostly just post stuff about music and, nothing else at this point. Or my website, which does need to be updated, but it's my name, CatherineCapozzi.com. And so I am working on, I teach guitar, so I'm teaching, but I'm also working on different projects. The Bring Us Your Women project that we did, we're going to be releasing about a 3-song EP with a song that Sophia did as part of the project, Medusa. It's kind of exciting, and 2 other tunes, which will be out. And then I'm also working on my nylon string guitar duo called Fomenko with Rafi Sofer. We did a performance at the Boston Public Library in front of no one, but it was broadcast. So we're working on maybe getting some, music out there. And then I'm also just working on my composing shop. So I'm doing stuff for video game, people. I'm just composing a lot, as much as I can, and just studying film composing and doing just as much as I can on my own. And also when things start opening up again, I have a Western that I was working with on with Vanessa Iona Wright, so her film Golden Tooth, which is a Western, a short, so hopefully doing that, and hopefully working more with Mike and Sophia, and just trying to look ahead, because pandemic. And Seth, I did Shiny Diamond, so that was a fun movie, and Darling Pet Monkey, and so there's a lot of different things, I guess. Trying to keep busy with as much as I can until there's a vaccine and we can all kind of be together at some point. So,
Very good. Desra.
So I've taken a pretty major change in careers. So I'm not really doing too much in the performance space right now. But most recently, I was a co-host on a YouTube channel called Without Parole Games, where we reviewed exclusively VR games. So I'm going to give them a shout out, even though I'm not actually part of the channel anymore. Definitely worth checking them out if you're interested in VR stuff. So I guess if you want to ask about robots, you can come visit me at Dezra, DEZRAH on Twitter, or Dezra the Strange on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. From walking on glass to robots.
Yeah, I get bored easily. What can I say?
Yeah. Interesting. Mary.
Like everyone else, all of my, performance is on hold for a little while. You can see me in a short that Seth made called Winkville. And also my band, I am in a band called Walter Sickert and the Army of Broken Toys. You can follow the toys on Instagram at Army of Toys or armyoftoys.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Mary_widow. And I think that's all I got going on.
Very good. Hugh.
Yeah, so for film-related stuff, you can follow me on Twitter at Lord Pancreas. Also my name on Instagram, but that's just personal stuff. On YouTube, it's youtube.com/c/Hugh Guiney. And that's a video blog about my startup company. And then for film right now, I'm writing a choose your own adventure film called Entanglement. It'll be out in 2053, so be on the lookout for that.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, and yeah, that's me.
Very cool. Where was there a story behind the name Lord Pancreas?
It was originally the name of a villain in my parody Flash anime that I was animating in 2003. And then I was saving everything to a writable CD, and then my computer shut down and all of my animation was stored in RAM and hadn't been written to disk. So I lost it, and then I quit the project, but I held on to that name because I liked it.
Yeah, that's bad times. Always back up everything. I've learned that from experience.
And don't
well.
save things to CD-ROMs, please.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are doing that now. But yeah. Chloe.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like a lot of folks, a lot of things on hold right now. I actually, primarily, most of my performance stuff is stand-up. I mostly do comedy right now. Well, not really right now, but I mostly do stand-up. And actually, I have a virtual performance. I have a Zoom show tomorrow as part of the Midwest Queer Comedy Fest. They're doing, I you know, would have been there in person in Chicago, but because obviously we can't, and it's not a good idea and all these reasons, they're doing like some virtual shows. So that's pretty cool. And unfortunately, I don't remember what time it is, but if you look it up on Facebook, the Midwest Queer Comedy Festival, and otherwise, you know, follow me on Twitter. I try to post jokes, and when it's impossible to post jokes because everything is hard and sad, I retweet things that I think are interesting. So yeah, it's just my name at Chloe Cunha, and and I started writing for, you know, I've been starting to contribute for Reductress, so I don't have too much up there now, but you know, there's a couple of stuff that I've written up there, so I'm starting to branch out into other forms of comedy, because performing comedy is kind of hard right now. So yeah, but it's needed, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's needed, and yet it's hard. Like, you know, it's hard to like try to be irreverent when everything feels very difficult. So, you know, I've tried, but there are sometimes a joke is not the right thing to do. I don't know. It's hard. I'm a comedian, but you know, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm funny probably most of the time.
And Sophia and Michael.
Well, speaking of sending Catherine assembly cuts, we're in post on a couple features that Neal is involved in also. We have a podcast now because we're lame. It's for most of
I don't trust people who have podcasts.
I know, it's a terrible idea, but this group called Without Your Head gave us a podcast, and it's just called Launch Over. It's kind of about what our production company is up to, and we talked to our collaborators. Seth was on last week, or yesterday, I guess, his episode came out. Yep. We talk about what we're watching and what we're up to. I'm a stay-at-home dog mom right now to King Ghidorah the dog. He has an Instagram and a Facebook, and he's the best. And, you know, just looking forward to getting back on set in the future.
Yeah, we've got a few films that are at festivals. We actually did collaborate with Seth on that film Shiny Diamonds. It's playing a bunch of festivals. And we have a film called Darling Pet Monkey that's short, that's going to be part of a larger documentary that's currently, if anybody's attending Fantasia, currently it's playing there. You can watch it. And otherwise, it'll be at a bunch of other places coming up. And these are all essentially mostly all virtual festivals. So there are a lot of the people who have been running, you know, in-person fests have kind of shifted to online stuff, which has been an interesting experience. Some good things, some bad things about it. But so we've been doing a lot of that with the films, you know, that we've had kind of out this year. And otherwise, we're working, as Sophia said, we're working on a bunch of features that are
in various states right
yeah.
Nowhere near done,
yeah.
but in process.
Right. Very good. Well, I really enjoyed this, and I will thank everyone for doing this.
Thanks so much for having us.
Great to see you all. Thank you.
Yeah, great to see everyone.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's Lorraine.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for making it happen.
Yeah.
Thank you. The blood is alive.
Great to see you guys.
Blood is
Thank you.
Nice.
Good to see
Blood is alive.
everybody.
The blood is alive.